Recording? Hey everyone, it's Joe. So very recently, at the time that I'm recording this, there's been a new president elected in the United States. A lot of people have a lot of very strong reactions to it, and we're all kind of trying to make sense of it. One of the things that's been playing over and over again in my mind, and this is just because I've spent the last year or 2 years thinking about it a lot, is a quote from Edward Snowden. Back in 2013, when Edward Snowden first revealed his identity as this NSA whistleblower, he said this thing that right about now sounds really prescient.
The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change. People will see in the media all of these disclosures, but they won't be willing to take the risks necessarily to stand up and fight to change things. And because of that, a new leader will be elected. They'll flip the switch, say that because of the crisis, because of the dangers that we face in the world, some new and unpredicted threat, we need more authority, we need more power, and there will be nothing the people can do at that point to oppose it. And it'll be turnkey tyranny.
It was 3 years ago that he said that. I don't know, I haven't been able to get out of my head. And so I wanted to just talk about it a bit. And I thought, one of my favorite people to talk about this kind of stuff with, to kind of help me try to make sense of these sorts of things, is a guy named Ben Weisner. He's the director of the Speech, Privacy, and Technology project at the ACLU. Did I get that right? Did I say that?
Yeah, you got it right, Joe.
And he also happens to be the United States lawyer for Edward Snowden. He's a great thinker about this stuff. Here's my first question. How long after Tuesday's election did it occur to you that Ed said this thing back in 2013?
Well, actually, I was thinking about it all during the election season. At one point during the campaign, Donald Trump said, it would be really cool if I had the power to hack my political enemies. And he said it half as a joke. And my first thought was, who has that power? The President of the United States has that power. I think a lot of, worldly people dismissed Ed as paranoid at the time. This term, turnkey tyranny, sounded so exotic. It sounded like he was, reading too much science fiction. But all that he wanted us to know is that every technology that can be used for good can be turned for bad. That this architecture of convenience that we built all around us, the internet and all the devices that we use, can also be an architecture of oppression if the wrong people are running it and we don't have the right rules protecting us.
And do you think he would really do that, really use these sorts of tools that are supposed to be built to defend our safety, to spy on his political enemies?
So here's the scary part. If he did, he wouldn't be the first president to do it. And what we found out in the 1970s when Congress did a real investigation of the NSA and the FBI and the CIA was that a lot of presidents had used the power of the intelligence community to spy on enemies, to spy on Supreme Court justices, to spy on members of Congress. So it did happen here. That means it can happen here unless we stop it.
Okay, so how do we stop it?
Yeah, well, I think that's what Snowden was trying to tell us, that in order to protect our democracy, we need better than weak rules. We need strong, legal, enforceable rules. We need constitutional principles. We're going to need courts saying that this stuff is illegal. We're going to need to see Congress saying this stuff can't be done. And we're going to need to see technology companies understanding that they need to protect the rights of their customers from those kinds of tendencies. That's sort of what the constitutional framers understood. You don't need to be an evil person to abuse these powers. It's the natural tendency of governments to collect and use and misuse this kind of power. You need to have really robust checks on that. And again, we talked about courts and we talked about Congress, but one thing I think we're going to need a lot more of in a Trump administration is whistleblowers. We're going to need to have people on the inside who see things that are wrong and have the guts to come forward in some way, probably through the media, to educate the public so that we can push back. Because if an authoritarian or someone with those tendencies is controlling the levers of the government, the ordinary oversight mechanisms sometimes don't work. We might need people to go out of their lanes to bring the public into the conversation. And again, that's where Snowden's message is so strong too, right? When do you cross that point where you go from thinking and feeling to acting?
Yeah, I guess that's almost the best argument yet, in a way, to why Obama should pardon him, is to say, look, it's not villainous to be a whistleblower. It's actually, this is a heroic thing, is if something is going wrong and your boss and your boss's boss and your boss's boss's boss are all part of this thing that's going wrong and there's no way to stop it, sometimes the only one that can stop it is someone on the inside who's willing to kind of put themselves on the line and break those rules. Well, I guess that brings up the question then, you guys launched the pardon campaign before we knew who was gonna be the next president. Is your argument different now? Do you have something different that you would say to President Obama now?
Yeah, I think so. The world sure feels different. We launched the campaign because we believed, and we do believe, that what Edward did made our democracy stronger, that he brought about the most significant reforms to surveillance authorities in a generation. Those reforms are looking a lot more important today than they even did a few months ago or last year. The fact that Congress stepped in, the fact that the courts stepped in, the fact that the technology companies that we rely on every day stepped up and improved security may turn out to be absolutely critical in the struggle over democracy that we're going to be having in the next few years. And I think in recognition of that contribution, a pardon would be the appropriate response from the president. And also as a signal to the world that there are people in this country who still value human rights, civil liberties, civil rights. I think the world is looking at us right now with a lot of fear and apprehension. What have you just done? And I think that this would be, from the president who got a Nobel Peace Prize the year that he took office, this would be a powerful message to the rest of the world that America is still here, that this is going to be a brief interruption, but that, this isn't the end of America as a country that believes in human rights.